Hey ladies, if you're a busy mom and or a career woman that lives this busy lifestyle and you still have fat loss goals, I'm about to give you some really good tips in here that if I had to lose the last 10 pounds in my journey, this is what I would do. I want you to take into account here that this is not a quick fix. These are not tips to get you 10 pounds down in a week. This is something that will set you up long term so that you can lose the weight and keep it off. So if you're interested, keep watching for my tips. And this is what I do with my nutrition, and we're gonna keep it simple today. Now let's hop in to see how we can simplify. So you're probably at a place in your journey where you have 10 more pounds to go. You've gotten to this point and you just can't seem to budge the scale or budge the weight. I want you to keep in mind that, sometimes at this point, the scale might not move exactly how much you want, depending on your exercise routine, self-care, things like that. When you have fat loss goals, we are trying to focus on building muscle in the process so that you can get that lean physique that you're going for, feeling better in your clothing. So what that means is that the number on the scale might not go down as much as you think because muscle weighs more than fat, so you might not see it move that much. So keep that in mind. Now, as we get closer with our fat loss goals along the journey, your body adapts and it can become a little bit more stubborn because oftentimes in a fat loss journey, we are in a bit of a calorie deficit that we need to help our body shed fat, but also our metabolisms can adapt pretty well to that. So in this time, a lot of women are dealing with a lot of different stressors from life, and they are trying to balance families, careers, personal lives, all that stuff, while still having goals for themselves. The last 10 pounds often feels really impossible to lose because maybe sometimes emotional eating or stress eating can come into play, lack of sleep, inconsistent exercise routines interfere, and just maybe some food choices that you're like, what am I doing? I don't feel great doing this. But do not worry, I've got you covered. Now, what I would do in this case is I would sit down and I would say, okay, I'm not going to look at anything that I can restrict, because once we start restricting more and more and more, what is there to add? So I want to challenge you to flip the script, and if you're here trying to lose the last 10 pounds, would be to eat more and not less. So focus more on the nutrient density. I talked about that in the video that I posted before this, so you can check that out where I explain what nutrient density is. But why that matters right now is because instead of cutting calories, we want to focus on the quality of foods of what you're eating. So I'd start by packing my meals and with nutrient dense foods like lean proteins, colorful veggies, and some carbs and whole grain options in there. And these foods will give you more bang for your buck in a sense of like keeping you full, keeping you energized and satisfied throughout the day. When you're busy and stretched thin, you need energy, not deprivation. With focusing on more quality and not less food per se, we want to also dial in your protein intake. So protein is key for fat loss and muscle retention. So the secret to losing the last few pounds is truly not to starve yourself. It's fueling your body with enough protein, with enough nutrients overall, carbs, fats, fiber. And I would suggest aim for at least around 30 grams of protein per meal. So this will help keep you full and maintain muscle while burning fat if you're consuming enough protein on a daily basis. And remember, more muscle means a stronger and that leaner body that you're going for. We're not chasing weight loss here. We're chasing fat loss and muscle gain. So that ultimately helps your long-term metabolic health. So an example of high protein foods would be chicken, turkey, fish, plant-based options can be thrown in there, Greek yogurt, dairy products, sticking with like supplements if you need them. Last resort, I would say like a high quality protein powder or some protein bars. But yeah, like for like an afternoon snack, I've done do half cup to 3/4 cup cottage cheese with half cup to a cup of berries, depending on your personal macronutrient needs, and go from there. The other thing about losing the last 10 pounds is this part is huge, aside from food and exercise, is to really dial in your stress management and emotional eating if that might be coming up. Now, a lot of times when we deal with emotional eating, we all at some point have probably turned to food for comfort, and especially when life gets really stressful. I like to focus on, with my clients when it comes to that emotional eating, is focus on balanced meals throughout the day. Trying your very best to do that, so that way that keeps you full and satisfied. Make that meal as simple as possible, and remember that food is fuel for your body. It's nourishment for your body. It's not this coping mechanism always. Some practical stress reduction tips that you can incorporate into your life. If you experience that emotional trigger of like stress or just mass chaos and overwhelm, and that's your trigger, then I would say once you feel that feeling, ask yourself, what do I actually need? A lot of times I like to say, if you can take a quick 5-minute little walk somewhere around the building or around like outside, if you can resort to maybe like going to a journal or reading a book, like you have to work on like building a muscle. You have to build the muscle of breaking that habit of turning to food in an emotional response situation to turning to a more life-giving, health-giving activity that can make you feel better afterwards. So that's something that, like with the emotional eating part, can really tune in and dial in your nutrition. Now in this journey, if I were here and I'm like, okay, I have the last 10 pounds to lose, I would definitely keep it as simple as possible and focus on consistent meals. So when I say simple, I mean super simple, because once we get to this point, it gets frustrating if you haven't seen it budge in a long time, but you just got to keep going. There's going to be plateaus in your journey, and really focusing on, okay, like what I would do is I would make sure that I'm batch cooking. I would make sure I have batch prepped some proteins for the week, 1 to 2 protein sources, chicken and ground beef, and then like a huge sheet pan of veggies, and then maybe like sweet potato and some quinoa or something like that. So that way I can make different meals and put them together as I go and whatever I need to keep that meal planning, meal prep very simple and not that too elaborate. And your family could eat it too, honestly. It's super simple. They take what they need, but you build your plate how you need to. Another tip here would be to pair that strength training with the nutrition. Now, we want to really dial in at least 2 to 3 times a week is really what I would suggest. Doesn't have to be an hour either, ladies. Like even 20 to 30 minutes of a full body strength train YouTube workout for twice a week could do the job. We really want to focus on that. And if you're more experienced, 3 to 4 times a week. If you are an experienced lifter, and just stay consistent with that. Don't try to go run marathons. Not the response we want. We just want to focus on consistency. And yeah, maybe take a look at your daily step count or what your daily step count is at. Usually I say whatever your daily average is, maybe bump that by 2,000 and see if that budges anything in the process. The last thing I want to touch on is the focusing on balance and not perfection in this journey, because you're wearing a lot of different hats right now, and you're probably super busy with just life in general, but that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice like life experiences for it. So let's get realistic, okay? Ladies, you can absolutely reach your fat loss goals and not give up the life that you enjoy, the spontaneous adventures, going out to eat, all that stuff. What I would really focus on is 80 to 90% of the time during the week and the weekends, you are in that mindset shift of nourishing my body, fueling my body with the nutrients it needs. And you're staying consistent with the workouts because you notice how energized it makes you feel and how much better it makes you feel. And just squeezing that in when you can throughout the week. And really focusing on the mindset shift here is, remember that it's not about the perfection, it's about consistency. And I will say that time and time again on this channel, consistency will get you results. and will get you progress if you are consistent. Consistent. Like, that's what I want you to really focus on and take away from this video, is that consistency. So if you are at that last 10-pound mark and it's just driving you up a wall and you're just freaking out or going crazy or be really frustrated, I want you to take a deep breath. And I want you to evaluate why you started this journey in the first place and how far you've come. Because I'm pretty sure once you get to this point, you have done so much already that sometimes it just takes ourselves just to sit down and reflect on that. So take some time for yourself to do that first. And take some of these tips, take what you need, leave what you don't in this video, and take some of these tips, apply them, see if they work for you. What's it gonna hurt? What's it gonna hurt to simplify your route to fat loss and losing those last 10 pounds? But essentially, this is what I work on with clients, and this is what I would do. I would just go back to basics, keep it simple, keep it consistent. And so, yeah, I mean, if you like the content in this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more women's health, fitness, and nutrition tips. So thanks for watching, and stay strong, stay nourished, and I will see you in the next one.